Okay, so the bet. Basically, there is these two guys, and it starts off when this guy who is a young banker hosts a party, and there's all these intellectuals and smart people and writer or journalists and stuff like that, and they go to this party, and it's 1870. It's 1870, and they're talking, and specifically they talk about capital punishment and life imprisonment. Imprisonment. They debate whether or not, um, life in prison is better than capital punishment. And personally, I would choose the capital punishment because I don't think it'd be worth it to waste 15 years of life in prison. I'd rather just end it and have less suffering. But anyway, so because of that, there is a lawyer who argues that he would rather live than not live at all. And so he decides to, or because of that, the baker decides to have a bet. He says, okay, well, it's a bet. If you can survive solitary confinement for 5 years, I'll give you $2 million. And the lawyer has enough balls to say, how about 15? So this is 15 years of his life that he's willing to take away for $2 million. I mean, given that $2 million at the time was hundreds of millions today, so this is a lot of money. And I mean, I don't know, it'd be something that I think, given the opportunity, I also would take. But I mean, that's 15 years of life away from other human beings, and that's something hard. I think most people would commit suicide within the first year. So anyway, so the guy starts reading all these books, and that's pretty much all he does. The first year, he doesn't even drink wine or smoke tobacco, which, by the way, that's another thing about the deal. He can get anything he wants, anything at all, but he can't have contact with other human beings. And so he can read books, he can do anything like that, but just not see or speak to other humans. And so he gets all this stuff except for tobacco and wine the first year. And then later on, he starts studying languages, and he does all this stuff, and actually, he wants to know that he's actually doing something that's worth it. And so he actually writes a letter to the baker and says, okay, well, get all your friends to translate this, and if they can translate it and say that there's no mistakes, then I want you to fire 2 shots in the garden next to the shed that I am being kept in. And the banker does, because it is, I guess, flawless. And so, the lawyer is in the jail, or the little shed, and then he starts asking for Shakespeare and all these other things, and he just keeps reading this volume after volume. And then the banker gets confused because for a while the only thing that the lawyer reads is the Bible and the Gospel, and he says, "Why waste waste time on something that is so basic? It's not like it's an extraordinary novel of some sort." And I guess if you were the lawyer who had been alone reading whatever he wanted for 5, 6, 7 years or more, you would obviously have a little something that you would realize why you'd want to read something like that. So I mean, I guess he must have had his own reasons. But the lawyer eventually, almost the 15th year, the banker is getting kind of depressed because he knows that he had saved up all his life and worked his life towards this this where he's at. You know, he's worked for the 2 million or whatever that he has, and he's had to go through all the worry and all the happiness and joy and everything in between that came with him working his way up to where he was at. And so he actually sneaks in to the into the little shed and breaks into it. And he actually, from what I can tell, has the intent to either A, kill him, or make it seem like B, he was trying to escape. And so when he goes in there, he finds the man asleep on a desk, and he looks absolutely terrible. He's got all this stuff on his he's got all this like massive stuff on his face, and his hair is all shaggy. He's got beard, and his skin is all sunken in, and he looks thin. And he sees a letter that was written, and it basically says that, you know, I'm this guy. I've been stuck in here for 15 years, and I've gained all this wisdom. I've read every book that at the time was known to man, and I've been able to do all these things, but because of these books. And so I haven't actually physically gone out and done them, but I've done the equivalent, which is to read about it and experience it in his head. Yeah, and then so what happens is the banker finds out that the man actually was deciding to go. He was going to just escape 5 hours before the time was up. And so because it was not exactly 15 years, the banker would not have to give him the $2 million. Which, I mean, I think that if you're that close, why not just get it anyway? I mean, you understand that you don't need it, but I mean, if you go into the world as is, you've got no money, you're terrible looking, I mean, not as in you're ugly, I'm saying you look like your health is so deteriorated, it's not even funny. And I would have just stayed the extra 15 or 5 hours. But yeah, so then the banker decides, you know what, I'm going to go back to bed, and he says, you know, wow, this guy pretty much just saved my butt because I don't have to pay this $2 million that would have ruined me. And he has trouble going to sleep, and sure enough, the next day the lawyer's gone, and he takes the letter and puts it in a fireproof safe and just keeps it, and it ends there. So yeah, I hope this helped you to understand The Bet by Anton Chekhov.